Welcome to the first ever episode of the And New Podcast. I am joined by producer extraordinaire Kelly, and my name is Steven. This is our post UFC 228 recap show, the post conference. Great night of fights. We had a bunch of finishes. Everyone came out to bang. Let's get right to it. I didn't watch every single one of the fights. I did enjoy a lot of them, but to watch all of them was a bit. I didn't get the pre-fight pass, so I missed the Sanchez card. I know he had actually a really good fight, but at least the guy is still winning. Guy from the first Ultimate Fighter, and he's still winning. It's just incredible, just absolutely incredible. Too bad we didn't have an and new champ. And with just obviously the girl fight, the 125 fight, the 115 fight going down, I was quite surprised that if you would have told me 2 months ago that it was Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till, I would have been like, none of these guys, both of them are not going to make weight. And I was incredibly shocked. Both these guys made weight. I could not believe it. But they both did, and Woodley put on a show. Till didn't, but let's get back to the breakdown here. First fight on the prelims, Stewart versus Bird. Amazing fight, really good fight. Those guys were really going to war. When you had Stewart, just predominantly a striker, and Charles Bird's actually a grappling champion. I really thought that it was going to be Stewart all night, but it was Bird on the feet that was really putting Stewart in trouble, landing with short punches up against the fence and really putting Stewart in an awkward position. And just as it looked like Bird was gonna pound him out and win it here, Stewart clips him right over the top with an elbow, and man, his lights were starting to go out on that one. He was really wobbling after that, and then the punch, and then with another elbow, it was just a crazy back and forth fight. Great comeback for Stewart. Hopefully there's more for him to come in the future. The fight I definitely wanted to highlight, on paper this one, I didn't know what to expect. Jeff Neal versus Frank Camacho. Holy shit. That was a battle. Frank Camacho going out on a shield like most Hawaiians do. But Jeff Neal, wow, that knockout. Holy moly. Just even before the bell of the first round, he really clipped him there with that 1-2. And then but then even Camacho, he wasn't going down. He was in the up against the fence. He landed a few good punches too. You just got to keep punching when it comes to it. I was so surprised that he was still with it and able to, but obviously in the second round, that head kick, ooh boy, that was like one of those fucking blood splattering head kicks. Oh man, from hell. That was an awesome fight. Good for Camacho and great for Jeff Neal. I've started to kind of like touching base on my previous point about how the UFC has no really, they got some, but they don't have any real prospects coming around. Jeff Neal with a bullet, 170. Watch out. This dude's got a lot to show, and I think it's just the beginning for him. He's going to be great come down the stretch here, and it's really a good injection of blood into that division. I'm really excited to see what that brings coming down the road here. And then after that one, we had Sterling and Strayman. Battle of the trash talking wrestlers. It was. I thought that it wasn't going to be as good as it was. Cody Strayman has he's got a really good record going into it, but all decisions. So I really thought he was going to come in just really kind of lay on him and hope he could eke out a close decision like on his last two fights. He had two split decisions. That's usually not the best thing you want on your record is a lot of split decisions. But Sterling, man, they came out and they were trading. I was really surprised, and Strayman being the smaller and having no reach at all. I think it was like a 7-inch reach difference. He came in and he really put Sterling on his butt a few times. But in that second round, Sterling just took over and really, started using his base, his strength, and once that Strayman tried to go for that takedown and messed it up, Sterling took over, and when it almost had that full Nelson submission, that was amazing. But then to get full mount and really just pound the crap out of him, he had no choice but to pull off that knee bar. That was a nasty looking one. That knee bar, oh boy, he's not gonna be walking for a while. That was disgusting looking. He got him with such a tight one. We're using all his own weight. That's not something you see. I think that's what they were saying. They'd only had it happen once before that, but as we obviously know, it had happened again in this same card. Great fight though. Good win for Sterling. The best part about Aljamain Sterling is having Matt Serra in his corner. His listening to him yell the whole time. That's the best part about him. He's got a good team, and he's got a bright future. He's had a few losses, but he's got a bright future ahead of him as well. The one loss that he had, I think he actually lost to Brian Caraway. That's not a guy you want to lose to. Yeah, he did lose to Brian Caraway. Two split decision losses. Those aren't bad to have, and Rafael Asuncao. But he's on two wins now. But he's super young. I think he's going to be a champ one day. Fight after that. Tatiana Suarez. Wow, yeah, and Carla Esparza. Both of them, man. Suarez, man, holy shit, did she ever impress me? Really whooped on Carla Esparza, especially in the wrestling. She had no chance at all against her. It was just all Suarez, and I was really surprised with how good of a wrestler Esparza is. Tatiana Suarez, I think she was out for a little while. I think she was out with a knee injury or something like that for a little while, but man, undefeated too, 7-0. She's huge for 115, and you could see that in that fight where she was just manhandling her and overpowering her the whole fight. Carla Esparza had no choice but to tap from that beating afterwards. She was just getting ragdolled. She had no chance to get off. Good on Esparza. She's had a really long career, and I think she'll still be a very game fighter going forward. I don't think that she's going anywhere soon. If the UFC were to lose her, they would lose a great fighter. But I don't see her going out anytime soon. Huge. The fight that I had, when I looked at this card at first, the fight that I had seen when I was going over the fighters, the one that stood out to me most on paper as being the fight of the night would have been Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Nico Price. And just from their fights previously, both guys like to bang. Both guys have the knockout win, but who could have predicted that quick of a fight? It was, I would have loved to see more time of that, but when you got two dudes slugging each other like that right in the middle, and it just was Abdul Razak's night with that KO. What a fight! I don't think he won the $50,000 though, unfortunately for him. It went to, I think there was like the first fight of the night. It went to the two girls there, Irene Aldana and Lucille Pudilova. It was a split decision. It must have been a real back and forth war. Like I said, I did not see that fight, but I don't think he actually won anything for it. But both those guys got a lot of fights in their future. But going back to Tatiana Suarez, I forgot to mention her name on the list. Future contenders, Suarez. She's the girls' division future contender. She's definitely the future champ of the girl division. You heard it here first. Tatiana Suarez, gonna be. I don't see anybody being able to beat her. How big she is at that weight class, it's just gonna be impossible. Moving on, Jimmy Rivera versus John Dodson. If there was a fight on this card where somebody was gonna tell me that it's gonna go decision, I would have 100% believed them, because that's all really John Dodson does. He doesn't get too many finishes. But he's so elusive, it's hard for people to finish him. If last time he knocked out Manny Gambirian, every other fight, it's been decision. He's knocked out a few scrubs. With the one, obviously his biggest win would obviously be against champ TJ Dillashaw, who looks unbeatable at 135. Whether or not they fight against each other again, I doubt it. Obviously with Dodson losing to Rivera, we're definitely not going to be seeing that anytime soon. But it's just so weird, the 6 degrees of separation when it comes to fighters. It's almost like it's 2 degrees of separation, especially when it comes to Jimmy Rivera and Aljamain Sterling. They both have one thing in common, and that's they both got knocked the fuck out. Marlon Moraes, both super quick wins. Where does he sit in the 135 division? You know, you're losing a close one to a Sunsao, but beating John Dodson, beating Sterling, beating Rivera. I think he has to be in the talk for the title for sure, with 2 quick knockouts like that. If they don't give him a title contender shot next, or a straight up title shot next, it would be very disappointing. One thing I wanted to touch base on is Jimmy Rivera. He's been fighting the UFC for quite some time now. But there's another guy. I should have had it up here beforehand, because there's another Rivera also in the UFC, and I can't remember his first name for some weird reason right now. It's escaping me. He's actually a good fighter as well. But how do you have 2 dudes named Rivera and they look identical? They look absolutely identical, but they aren't related. Same weight. They look honestly like they're twins. It's just one of the weirdest things. And I don't know, I've been looking up everything about these 2 dudes. Nothing says they're related. Nothing would even, they're both born in different towns, but they aren't related at all. Same last name, they look identical, same weight. They're both I think they're both originally from Panama or something, but weirdest thing. Anyways, moving on to the next one here. We have, I didn't even get to what happened in that fight. It was obviously a decision. You know, it was okay. It was, kind of back and forth a little here and there. Dodson with his normal lunging punches and, not really doing much. Both guys are quick, but I think I definitely gave the edge to Jimmy Rivera for all 3 rounds too. He did a little bit more. Did he do that much? I don't really think so, but it was something at least, you know what I mean? But Rivera just obviously the more game fighter, younger fighter, and he's just still hungry to win even after that knockout. But we'll see what happens with both those guys. Dodson's obviously stock goes down and Rivera's goes up. And where does it put them both in the division? Both still, I think, top 10 guys, but that division is always changing. That brings us to Zabit Magomedov Sharapov versus Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis being the last second replacement for Rani Yahya would have been two game grapplers, but what this Zabit is one of those guys where he is like a perfect fighter, amazing stand-up. He's got the spinning kicks, the spinning heel kicks, great punches too, very fast, but his grappling, his takedowns, and his ground game alone make him very dangerous. And this is one of those guys we haven't seen in a very long time, where he's incredibly dangerous on his feet, but he's probably more dangerous on the ground. And especially at 170, this guy makes the list of up-and-comers, 145, makes the list with a fucking bullet of the next champion for sure. This guy is tough. For Conor McGregor to run into this guy, he would walk right through him at 145. This guy he's got so many tools in his tool chest. I think it's going to be really hard for anybody to beat this guy with the amount of steam he's got going right now. Brandon Davis came in, he came in and was game. He wasn't going to go down without a fight. Those Mississippi fighters, those dudes, they're always there to bang. And he really had the first round was going. He was making the first round an actual fight. Davis was landing those leg kicks at at will. I would love to know what the final count was on those leg kicks, because man, did he ever really pile him up? And you could tell in the beginning of the second round that Zabit, he was kind of favoring it a little bit and didn't want to be kicked any more down there. But obviously Zabit's his was just too much for him eventually, and you got that beautiful diving trip takedown. That was awesome. It's kind of his signature, but just the way he throws it out there so quickly. And then obviously when it went to the ground, it was all Zabit, super heavy top game, and to get the back, and then obviously we see that other finish with the knee bar from back mount. It was just a beautiful finish. His wasn't as nasty as the one earlier in the night, but this one was just as bad. Not tearing off the knee sideways, but more, you could see he wasn't going anywhere and he was in a terrible position. But all in all, with the bullet, Jeff Neal, he's a great fighter, but for the future contenders on this list, Zabit, Magomedov, Sharapov, got to lose some letters on your name. He did an amazing job to really solidify his name, and he's got to be fighting at least a top 3 guy come up here next. He's just tearing through all of his opponents. If you look at his record, the guy's he's already won 4. That's his 4th win in UFC, with the exception of the Kyle Bonchinak win, which was a decision. All of his wins are by submission. And, he beat up Mike Santiago. Mike Santiago is a really tough dude, and that was his first fight. The dude's, he's on a roll. He has 1 loss, but I think that almost helps you out. As having that 1 loss early on in his career, 2003 against Igor Egorov. I'm sure. Let's take a look at this dude here. We go into, this guy's just some tough ass Russian dude. He's got not a great record, 12-8. It's always those guys earlier in the career where they catch you, and that's MMA, that's fighting. Sometimes you didn't have a good week, you didn't have a good training week, could be a little sick or something, and then boom, you lose, you get caught by some dude that's his game is grappling. And the next one, I think we're moving into the co-main event, yes, with Jessica Andrade versus Carolina Kovalchuk. And who seen this coming? I don't think anybody had ever seen it. I think it actually was a record for the fastest knockout for their weight at women, for the 115 women. Man, did Andrade just bring it out, especially for Carolina to actually get hit. She is such a tough striker. I'm pretty sure she went the distance with Jurjacek. And let me see here, because pretty sure they fought before. Yeah, they went full 5 rounds, so she can take a punch. You know what I mean? But she loses to Andrade, which the 6 degrees of separation again here. Kovalchuk had lost to Claudia Gadelha as well right after that fight, and then she goes on to 2 wins, beating Felice Herring, which was a big win for her, and then to lose to Jessica Andrade, who Jessica Andrade has beaten Claudia Gadelha. But I guess when you're at that top of 115, all 4 of those girls are going to be fighting each other quite a bit. I think she got caught early and just kind of never recovered. She took that punch, and she just was she didn't go down. I'll give her that. She did come back up with a few punches, but that last punch, holy moly, from Andrade, holy moly, that was a punch. That was one that was, she knew she wanted to win the fight with that one, and knocked her right out. Looking at the lights was Carolina Kovalchuk, and man, she really is on next. She called. I think she did call out. I think can't remember who she called out, but I'm pretty sure she called out Jurjacek for another rematch, because obviously Joanna has beaten her as well. And now we move on to the main event here. Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. I'm not a Tyron Woodley fan, and I'm not a Darren Till fan. Like I said earlier, I'm so surprised both those guys made weight or somebody didn't get injured. That's my main thing about Tyron Woodley. I don't like he's a good fighter. He didn't make it there by accident. He knocked out Robbie Lawler. He's a good fighter, but he's always making excuses. He was down for a year. Guy hadn't fought in a year, and before that, it was almost another year. You know what I mean? So when he first won the belt, he did fight. He fought relatively quickly in the same time, but the guy, he's just, you know what I mean, he doesn't have the greatest record when it comes to being a welterweight champ. He is the champ. He knocked out Robbie Lawler, beat the crap out of him, no doubt about that. But I just have never been sold on Tyron Woodley. I've seen him come up right from the start, following him in Strikeforce. I've just never been a fan. And then we come to Darren Till, a guy I don't like even more. Once again, I was just so surprised he made weight. Good fighter, but he's so weird. They're like in a Stephen Thompson fight, there was something about how he had to miss the weigh-in or something. I can't remember what that was. He was like late for the weigh-in because he had a family emergency or something. I just thought it was like a family member in the hospital. And I thought, I think that, unless they're actually dying, I don't want to say you can't go to the hospital, but I think it's, you got to weigh your options, and it just really seemed very weird to me. And when all that happened, what I mean, this is a pretty big deal. I thought maybe it was a little bit cheap because the guy's always having a problem weight cutting. So I thought maybe he was working on some kind of cheating, some cheating drawn blood or something. That's why he went to the hospital to lose a pint of blood. But it was a great fight. It was a great fight. The biggest thing I got to say about Darren Till, he comes out super, super slow. Like, I think he may have thrown 2 punches the whole first round, and he just looked like he was trying to take it the distance. And I thought, this is your chance, man. This is your chance here. It may not come again, and you're gonna come out slow like that. I know it's a big fight. You got to be a little tentative, but that was way too slow. You can't come out to it thinking you're gonna win a title fight like that. And I thought Tyron Woodley came out with a great strategy. He came out kicking, swinging, shooting. He had a great strategy. I think that was the first little flurry. He goes high punch, body punch, takedown, head kick, and then goes for like a clinch takedown, and then drops down and goes. He was just keeping Till on his back heels the whole fight. He was really forcing him into the corners too, and I thought Tyron Woodley came out with a great strategy. But the first round definitely went to Tyron Woodley just for sheer activity. I don't know what the hell Darren Till's corner was telling him to come out incredibly slowly. You know what I mean? Maybe you're gonna wear him down, but you get knocked out and you aren't gonna wear down anybody. But obviously in the second round, T Wood comes out, smokes him, obviously because Darren Till hadn't done anything for the first full round. He comes with a stupid 1-2 punch, dropping both of his hands, and in that, if you're gonna do a 1-2 against Tyron Woodley, you better have the distance. You're gonna do a 1-2 with him that close, he's gonna hit you with a hook, and that's not some guy you want to hit it with a hook. What's crazy is how big Till is in height wise compared to Tyron Woodley. They actually have the same reach, which I thought was a crazy stat. You know what I mean? So and then he just obviously got smoked. T Wood with a huge shot right on the chin, following it up with a dozen huge elbows. I don't know. I'll give it to Till for having a head. I don't know how he came off of that one without, with how many shots he took. I give it to the refs for letting it go. I do appreciate that. You got to let it go, especially when it comes to a title bout. Just because no one wants to end it on a quick one. He took a beating, and deservedly so. But the one other gripe I have with Darren Till on this one is, how the hell did you not work off your back? You're going up against a Division I All-American wrestler in Tyron Woodley. Sure, you're maybe a lot bigger than him, and even after you rehydrate, you could be bigger with weight. But how in the hell did you not work off your back? Sure, he was on Queer Street. He probably couldn't see anything straight, and his legs probably had no power underneath him. But he had to have worked on some kind of slick maneuvers to get out from underneath him. Even when Tyron Woodley was standing with almost like a knee to belly move, and then with his leg out to support, how he couldn't have rolled out of that one, scooted out underneath himself to at least be able to stand them both back up. I have no clue how that ended up like that without him. He's struggling somewhat. That's what he wasn't struggling. He wasn't wiggling. I just didn't have a clue of what he was thinking with his training camp when it comes to that as well. You know, I mean, it doesn't look like he trained at all off of his back. And when you're going up against a wrestler like Tyron Woodley, I think he had like some crazy stat of like 92% of his takedowns he accomplishes. You were going to get taken down. Even if it was for a brief second, you're going to get taken down. And from what I've seen from Till, it just didn't look like he worked on his ground game at all, especially off his back. That's all you got to do, just work off your back. And then for that Darce to sink in as lazy as it was, I really hope Darren Till wasn't looking for a way out. For that Darce, the way it came on, it was so slow, it was so sloppy, and then once he actually got it in, it was like half in for a good few seconds. How did Darren Till not realize, okay, I could be in serious trouble here, even more so? I better start wiggling out of this or doing something, because at that point you could tell that Tyron Woodley did not have a whole lot of weight on him at that time. He could have scooted out the side. Obviously, I'm on the outside looking in, but how you let that Darce so slowly attach itself, and then when he squeezed on it, obviously he had nowhere to go. He was obviously clearly out of breath. He was exhausted. And he got really the daylights beaten out of him with all those elbows. I really wish there was a count on how many of those heavy elbows, not just elbows. He ate a lot of heavy elbows on that. We didn't get the end new champ. We got us and still champ. Well, I'll take it. But where does this take Tyron Woodley? You know what I mean? And where does this take Darren Till? I think it was a great night. 9 finishes. Which is awesome. 9 out of 13 fights, you get a finish. I think that's a win. You don't see that many finishes these days, and good for all the fighters for coming out, really banging, wanting to win. That's what we want to see. Is you want to see somebody try to win. You know what I mean? When you get there, and sure, butterflies can take over, and different things can play an effect, but you want to win, and that's what we want to see when the guys are stepping in. When the cage door is locked behind them, you want to see them fight. I think the only fight that makes sense for Tyron Woodley would obviously have to be Colby Covington. Just got recently stripped for his interim belt just because he couldn't fight. It wasn't the fact that he didn't want to fight. I think it's just the fact that he couldn't. He's going for nasal surgery or some shit, but I think makes the most sense. I think that Tyron Woodley's a little bit of even afraid of him a little bit. How much is Tyron Woodley going to be in his next fight? Apparently he's dropping an album in his singles with Wiz Khalifa. Like, how did he swing that one? They must be friends or something. I thought that was really weird to drop that, even to like say like happy birthday to him, and then to later on drop that his new singles coming out. I don't know how good Tyron Woodley's rapping is going to be. But I guess when you got money and you want to do what you want to do, why not? Be a rapper. You go ahead and do it. But I just hope he doesn't take time off, or we see any silliness like that. He's going for another surgery or something like that. But obviously, it only makes sense. I wanted to touch base on too how he keeps saying he's the best welterweight of all time. It's like, come on, man. Yeah, you're a good fighter, Tyron. You're a good fighter, but if you look, sure, you knocked out Robbie Lawler, and Robbie never got a rematch, and he lost to what the heck's his name here, Dos Anjos. You know what I mean? But here, I think Robbie Lawler, obviously at his age, he wants to take some time off. But I think they have to have another fight between those two dudes. I don't think Robbie Lawler got a fair shake in that one. Obviously, got caught with a huge punch, and he was out, no doubt about it. And but so sure, you knock out Robbie Lawler, you fight Stephen Thompson, Wonder Boy 2 times. Obviously, your stock plummeted. two terrible fights. Obviously, Wonderboy's not the best, not the easiest to fight, and he's gonna be fighting for not to get taken down. And Tyron Woodley's obviously gonna be fighting to try to take him down. But when you go to both of those those terrible fights to watch, and then go to where they really weren't great. Sure, Stephen Thompson is at the top of his game, but he's an older fighter too. And obviously, he with both those fights, it showed that he's not a complete fighter. He's a great karate guy, great striker, but he's not a complete fighter. So you fight him twice. The second fight was obviously a unanimous. The first one could have gone either way. And then Damian Maia, I think he hurt himself. He tore his bicep or something. Another huge stinker. Talk about a guy who can say they fought two different weight classes, both for the title, and lost. Who else can say that? Talk about a guy that's been given opportunities and he just can't cash it in, especially both those fights for the 170 belt and for the 185 belt against Anderson Silva. That was easily Damian Maia's poorest performance ever. I love Damian Maia, great grappler, but man, he put on some stinkers when it comes to fights. He just one of those guys that really is, he goes with a jiu-jitsu pace, but still, this isn't jiu-jitsu. This is, you're fighting for a title belt here. You gotta really go for it.
Chael Sonnen's another guy who was offered opportunities to fight at two different weight classes.
Yeah.
Lost in both.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he did fight. Yeah, good call, man. Yeah. And John Jones. Yeah, he did. Yeah. And the John Jones one, that was crazy how he could almost won that one because John Jones messed his foot up so bad. But you got to get in line. To get back to Tyron Woodley talking about how he's the best, he's got to get in line. And I think he's not in number 3. I'll give him that. He's number 3, but there really hasn't been that many 170 champs. We had before Tyron Woodley, we had Robbie Lawler. And I think before Robbie Lawler, who was it? Was terrible fighter Johnny Hendricks. The guy doesn't even have a job anymore in the UFC. And who the heck did he beat to win? Oh, I think. Yeah, who the hell did he beat to win the belt?
Man, I can't even remember.
No, I know. Has he lost? I think it was Robbie Lawler. I think he did beat Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beat Robbie Lawler to win the belt, and then Robbie Lawler beat him up.
Yeah.
And then they had the third fight, and then he lost to him. Very tight fight. So the belt hasn't really gone even that much. That those guys really didn't. Those guys really didn't hold it for that long. I think that was really a dark time at the 170 weight, and then obviously George St Pierre had it before them. Obviously George St Pierre, without a shadow of a doubt, we got to be biased because I am Canadian, but just look at his record. He's easily the best 170 of all time. Let's count them here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 title defenses. Or no, sorry, 9 title defenses. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. And then to come back and win the 185 belt? I'm sure it was against Michael Bisping, but still he won and put a whipping on him. To lose obviously to Matt Serra was a freak accident, but to go from that.
Oh, the second fight was a beating.
Oh, exactly. The second fight was a super beating. Exactly.
Matt Hughes.
Exactly. And then that's who comes into mind for the guy who's number 2 spot of greatest welterweights of all time is Matt Hughes. Easily, it's got to be Matt Hughes with number 2, especially if a dude who did beat George St Pierre, and their first fight was really good. And just Matt Hughes was at that time where he was really that MMA fighter who had the strong wrestling background, great grappler, great at submissions, but he had some good striking too. And a guy who has traveled all over the world. The dude's got 54 fights. Whoa, that's a lot. Obviously we won't see Matt Hughes in any crazy fights, any fight ever again, like a retirement fight or something like that. But he lost a few later on in his career. I would love to have seen him maybe be in a few more of the of like those legend fights. I really love those fights. People can say they're terrible and they're a joke and they're a circus act. But I loved them. Even the Frank Shamrock versus Hoist Gracie one recently. I absolutely love that fight. But to get back to the point about Tyron Woodley saying he's the greatest welterweight, he's obviously got to say that. He's obviously got to say he's this and he's that. But come on, man, you can't say you're the greatest welterweight when George St Pierre when 170 was at his by far his strongest. You're gonna say you're better than him. This is an absolute joke. Beating John Fitch. When John Fitch was at his best. John Fitch is one of the most boring fighters ever, but the guy was one of the toughest dudes on the planet at that time, the most durable guys. And obviously Matt Hughes, Diego Alves, that was a good fight too. The Dan Hardy one was a bit of a weird fight. I remember that one, but still, either way, I win. Breaking Josh Koscheck's face in the first fight. He was never the same fighter after that. He had no chin. He had the Bob Sapp condition of getting your orbital bone broken and never being able to fight again. Really, never really taking a punch. Carlos Condit, I know that one was a close one. And then Nick Diaz, and then Johnny Hendricks before his stepping away from the MMA world and going to be a movie star. But you can't say sheer numbers alone. You can't say that you're the best welterweight of all time. And I'd have to put George St Pierre, Matt Hughes, and then I'll give you number 3, Tyron Woodley. You got to win a few more fights before you come up with that. I would love to see George St Pierre versus Tyron Woodley. I don't think either one of those guys wants that fight. George St Pierre, I think he's going to be coming back at 170. He's all about eating. He's on some weird Joe Rogan style diet, like the keto or the paleo. I think he's on the paleo diet. So he's slim as hell right now, and he's got one of his major sponsors is some kind of aquatic workout thing. So he's just shredded right now. There's a lot of rumors saying he's going to go to 155. I highly doubt that if he fights, because there's obviously the huge rumor that he wants to either fight. He wants to fight Khabib or Conor, and I think if he does win, if whoever does win that, and they do take that fight, it would obviously be at 170. There's no way it would be at 155. I think it'd be absolutely impossible for George St Pierre at his age to make that. He's 37. I see that impossible for him to make 155. And if he did, he'd be so emaciated it wouldn't even be a fight. It'd just be a total waste of time. But I think with both of those guys, the matchup does work out well, money-wise, obviously for both guys. And for George St Pierre, obviously that his fight against Bisping was so huge, and it was a great fight for George St Pierre, obviously for him to win. I just think his money fights are all he's going to be doing going forward, and good for him. He's earned that right. He really did carry the UFC to the place where it is. Another guy who did that was Chuck Liddell. Obviously, you had the guys like Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture and their awesome rivalry. And we were talking about earlier about the Legends fights and him versus Tito. I like it. I feel sorry for Chuck Liddell, honestly, because he obviously needs money or something. And I'm sure what Oscar De La Hoya was saying was that he had thrown so much money at both of them. He had straight up said they will make more this fight than they ever did in a UFC fight. And obviously UFC wasn't throwing around as much money back when both of those guys were in their heyday. They were still both major stars with Tito and Chuck, but I got to give this one obviously to Tito. He's obviously had his back problems, but his jaw has never been that terrible, where Chuck Liddell's jaw just turned to glass. And I don't know who's telling him to fight again, and if maybe he's tried it out or had one of his buddies smoke him in the face and he made it and he's like, I can do this. I don't know, but I don't know if it's a fight that he should have taken. Obviously they said they were going to make some money off of it.
They did can you take a punch test?
Yeah, exactly. Can you take a punch test? That's not a test you want to do, especially when you can't take many knockouts like that. The more you take, the worse it's going to get. it's going to be one of those things where it's never going to be good to take those shots. But all in all, great card. I hope we the next one's a free one. Hunt versus Olenek. I think that's how you say it. And then we got obviously it's also the Russia one. It should be a good card, but they didn't really stack that one, unfortunately. And obviously everyone's gonna be holding their breath come October for obviously UFC 229. Khabib versus McGregor. The shit talking can stop, and we can actually see somebody fight. The rest of the card, I hope they announce something else. I know they like to do that with these big main events, not really have a supporting cast with it, but I think they should, especially come being a winter card. That's really when you want to get people to watch. The summer cards, you're gonna have your lowest ratings ever, and I think obviously I think they're just preying on Conor. He will obviously bring in the people, but I think you got to have that co-main event. Like, you got Nick Lentz versus Gray Maynard. Like, who fucking thought of that one? Aspen Ladd versus Tonya Evinger. I think it could be a good fight, but once again, both those girls weren't really known for kicking the crap out of somebody. They're known for being tough game girls who are gonna beat people up. But I just the card isn't that great looking on paper. Let's hope it ends the other way. But even the 228, I didn't think it looked all that good. I thought it had a few names on there who could steal the show, and it rightfully did. With tons and tons of that finishes. I watched the second episode of The Ultimate Fighter. It was they have to have the girls now, the 145 girls, and it was a good fight. But you can kind of see it almost with the heavyweight dudes too. There is a good mixture of talent, and I think that's what they kind of want to see is the underdog. Obviously, the person that doesn't have the most talent use the most of their opportunity, and they go on to win the show or something like that in it, and it becomes a great story. But it was a fight against Penny Kaizad and then Katarina Lehner, the German fighter. It was actually a good bout. They didn't really do a whole bunch to the lead up to it. But the Swedish girl, was she tough. She really took it to her. It was a really back and forth where they really went at it and weren't holding any punches. They really went at it pretty tough at each other. Guns a-blazing right out the gate. But you could see come the later half of the first round that Lehner was starting to fade, and she just couldn't keep up with the punches and the kicks thrown by Kainzad. She kind of landed those two good takedowns, and obviously Lehner wasn't the bigger of the girls, so she didn't really do much. She did get back up, and she did fight hard, but when Kainzad had that huge takedown in the second round and control with mount and she was really landing some heavy shots on top, and really Lehner was trying to get out, but it really didn't work out too well for her. She did turn it around and land a few shots she got out of the bottom and landed a few good shots, but I just she just didn't have it in her. I think she could have some good fights, especially if the UFC does go to Germany. I hope they do give her a fight, on the undercard or whatever, even on the main card. I think she looked actually tough for how little she was. She really came out banging, and I'll give it to her. But the one thing I didn't realize on it, I didn't see, because I missed the first half of the first episode, was Anderson Silva. He's a kickboxing from K1. He fights in Glory. Really, really tough fighter. I don't know why they keep calling. I guess they're calling him Anderson Da Silva just because he's the exact same name as Anderson Silva. And good for. I love seeing these guys like Gohan Saki, even though Gohan Saki just got knocked right the hell out in his last fight. But I like seeing these kickboxers. Anderson Silva wasn't a great kickboxer. He was the heavyweight division is so tough for K1 or Glory. But he always was a game fighter. That's why I always got to give to him. He was always in there. He was a really tough dude. No one could really sleep on him. but I think it's just gonna be well, the one thing that stood out for me was the guy he's fighting. Obviously he's a huge underdog. He's like some little American, some super round Justin Fraser is his name, and obviously everyone's picking Anderson Silva's got to be one of the most one-sided fights on the show, with the exception of the first one. As we touch base on our first little one there, first little demo,
a little teaser.
Yeah, a little teaser. That was a mismatch. This could be even more of a bigger mismatch, but the dude is a big guy. That's the only thing. He's 281. Justin the Grizzly Bear Fraser. He's 8-2, so he's obviously got more MMA wins. He's obviously a wrestler, but just the quote he had was hilarious about him winning. He's like, people who train with me know I'm gonna win this one, and people who don't, well, you just have to see. I just thought it was terrible. I thought it was terrible. Sure, everyone's got a puncher's chance, but to say the people who train with you know you're gonna win, it's obviously they're gonna say that, buddy. But it was a good episode. I'm actually excited for this season of Tough. Next fight's obviously the dudes, and I think when it comes down to the preliminary fights, like the next round, I think it's gonna be. I think we're gonna see a lot of really good fights. If Maurice Green were to go up against Anderson Silva, I think that'd be actually a really good fight to watch. And
could you imagine if the people that trained with him were like, "Hey, this guy's gonna lose."
Yeah, exactly. Of course they're gonna be of course they're gonna say he's gonna win. Exactly. No, he's not. I'll tell you the truth. He's not that good. We just train with him. He's a good guy. He can really drink beer. But you know what? I'm gonna have to bet on the other guy here. Obviously, he would never.
That's funny.
It would exactly. He would never go that way. But it's a good episode of Tough, and it's actually been a really good season. I always like these ones here because the other ones, like the normal ones, they got to do something kind of quirky with it in order to keep it fresh, or else it's just going to become stagnant. Everyone's nice, and everyone's in, it's just all like 170 or 155 or 145 guys. Just get heavyweights in there. 185s. Get anybody off the street. Just get them in there. But it is really the future, and obviously the Contender Series is now almost turning into that thing where people are just going to watch the Contender Series because it's quick, it's a bit more green guys, but those guys bang harder, and I think they are taking it. They're taking it much, much more seriously. I felt really talk about to touch base on the Contender Series. Nick Newell, the dude with one arm, he had a huge opportunity. To come through, and that's what's crazy is the dude just wins. I was like, that's only his second loss, but they put him up against such a good wrestler. I really felt sorry for him because it was really the one thing he's not good against is those strong wrestlers. Obviously, his only other loss was to Justin Gaethje underneath the former WSOF banner, and
they did him no favors.
No, they did him no favors. That's for damn sure. But he keeps winning though. I give it to Nick. But keep fighting, man. Keep fighting until you don't want to fight anymore, because he's a tough dude, and maybe not having that little bit extra arm. Well, it makes you a little bit lighter. Let's see here. Yeah, Alex Munoz. Yeah, he was also one of the other favorites. But I think you don't want to. I think to touch base on what you said, Kelly. I don't think you want to maybe just because he is kind of handicapped a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm sure he would hate for someone to say that about him. The fact that they did give him the toughest fighter. I hope he can respect that. That he was headlining a Contender Series card and they did give him the toughest fighter, but. The guy is 14-2. After losing to Justin Gaethje, he goes on to beat 3 other dudes, 2 underneath the WSOF banner, and then even somehow neck cranked a dude. You know what I mean? He's won a lot of fights by submission. Guy's tough. But Well, so I hope he gets another shot. I hope he gets another shot underneath an undercard or something. I think he's from like Nebraska or something. Maybe give him a card on that or something like that. Yeah, where is he from? He's from Springfield, Massachusetts. So maybe they can give him a card on that. I like the story of Nick Newell, and when he's on the losing end, it's not very good because he does take a beating, obviously not being able to properly defend himself. But I want to see him in the UFC again.
Let him beat up CM Punk.
There you go. Man, that's a great idea, Kelly. That's an amazing... Oh, my God. That would be an amazing fight. CM Punk versus Nick Newell. Holy shit. And because I can guarantee CM Punk would lose that fight. And I think they're pretty darn close. No, he's 155. Nick Newell's 155. I think he could easily go up to 170 and whip his ass. What a good call, man. I would love to see that fight. I'd pay to see that one. Make it happen, Dana. But I wanted to do wrapping up all our MMA talk here and first show, and I want to talk a little bit about what it's about here, and it's going to be a little bit mostly MMA heavy, sports heavy, a little bit of pop culture, a little bit of music mixed in here. It's the most important thing is the organic flow. I want it to fill in as much space as possible, talk about topics, but keep it fun and keep it organic. And I'm really excited to be a part of this and really excited to do this. And I want to talk about a little bit more MMA. I didn't see the fight, but Alexander Emelianenko, Fedor's brother, he's come back from prison. What he did at prison, if it actually is true, it's terrible what he did. But a lot of people are saying it wasn't true, but I don't want to get into that right now. But what a guy to come back from prison and then go on a 5-fight win streak. He did fight. He fought last month against Tony Johnson to a draw. I didn't see the fight. I can only imagine Tony Johnson's a tough dude too. But he beat the Gabriel Gonzaga one was a good one. I watched that one. Virgil Zwicker. He's not fighting the toughest of dudes, but he is fighting names. Even Geronimo Dos Santos, a guy he doesn't have the best of chins. But to put those, I would put them very level to Alexander Emelianenko, especially how unfit he looked before he did go to prison. He looked super out of shape, super overweight. Now he looks tough, and I would love to see him on some bigger cards, bigger organizations, even the Glory MMA, or I know he does a lot of the Fight Night Russias, and have him over in whatever the professional fight league or even Bellator. I don't know how Bellator hasn't reached out to him yet, because the dude he fought, Tony Johnson, you want to talk about 6 degrees of separation, this guy's got it right here. Tony Johnson's a really good game fighter too. His most recent loss was to Minikov in Fight Night Global Fights in Russia. But Minikov is obviously one of the toughest heavyweights in the world. He had a good Bellator run, losing to Czech Congo only by decision. He had a few wins in Bellator. I was even beating Alexander Volkov by split decision but still was a good win. But beating up Tim Sylvia when his far later on in his career, he actually has beaten Derek Lewis. He actually has a win over Derek Lewis. But the reason why I wanted to touch base on Tony Johnson is because Tony Johnson had a rivalry with one of the most underground fighters, I think, of all time, Tony Kryptonite Lopez. He was I don't even think King of the Cage is still around. I don't know if it is even still around. It must be. It must be, but he was their champ forever. Their heavyweight and light heavyweight champ was Tony Lopez. Guy's got 88 fights at that, And at that, the people he's fought is just so many people throughout his career. Dude from California, those Californians, they just make fighters over there. I don't know what is in the water or what, but in like this year alone, he's already fought 4 times this year. And, and we're in the 9th month, but still 4 times. That's a lot. And then even last year, I can't even count this. Holy shit, how many times did this guy fight last year? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's over 10 fights. Like Tony Lopez, I've seen him fight. I haven't seen him fight in a long time, but Like, but I remember watching the King of the Cage fights with him in it, and dude, it just I thought I could have swore he retired. But tough dude. Always loved Tony Lopez. Let's count this here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 fights in 1 year. Like, how does that even happen? It must have been a tournament or something in there, but no, it doesn't even look like it. Fought, 2 times a month sometimes. He's always got to get money because he's the shitty thing about Tony Lopez, when he started getting recognition and started fighting the tougher fighters, that's when he really had a lot of losses. 2013, Trevor Pragley lost to twice. Even Alexei Olenek, who is fighting Mark Hunt on our next card on the next UFC here, he lost. He had a few long stints of losing. He had a 3-fight losing streak and then a 4-fight losing streak. But early in his career, the dude was a very tough dude. Great grappler, good striking, but he was so tall and lanky. 6'5". Great fighter, Tony Lopez. A little bit of the 6 degrees of separation when it comes to fighters here. But I want to see Alexander Emelianenko in another fight. I want to see him on a bigger card. I want to see him fight some bigger names. I'm not going to put money on him saying he's going to win, but I would just want to see him. Good as a feel-good story. A guy comes back from prison and just starts rattling off some wins. It's just not the best competition, but I would put those other competition like Gabriel Gonzaga. I would put Gabriel Gonzaga way higher than him. If you had to make a worldwide top like 100 heavyweight fighters, even though Gabriel Gonzaga wasn't the best, and in that fight he did gas out, but still he's a very tough dude on the ground. Does Sage Northcutt go to Bellator? There's huge rumors that UFC is not going to re-sign him. I think it would be very weird. He kind of got exposed a little bit. I think he got a little bit exposed, but he was such a young guy. How do you kind of just dump him after, a few losses? I think the UFC would be doing a huge discredit to themselves. The fact that it's even in the talks, I wasn't the hugest Sage Northcutt fan when he first came out, because I'm not into the whole gymnastics karate thing where everyone was just doing flips and kicks and everything was really fast. I was never really sold by that as a kid. I thought it was really too flashy, and I didn't think, are these guys actually going to beat anybody up, or is this more like dance fighting? What are we watching here? It's just more it's more choreographed, coming from a guy who loves wrestling. I just wasn't the hugest fan of his fighting style. But he's on a 3-fight win streak too. I don't know how they haven't given him money. He's only 22. He's 22. He's got 13 fights. He's beat some good guys. He beat Cody Pfister. He lost to Barbarino. I think his fight obviously against Zach Otto was a step up for him. He knocked him out. He obviously got choked out by Mickey Gall. But I was when I read that headline, I thought it was such a weird move for the UFC to get rid of him. He's all-American, good-looking, blonde hair, shredded guy. If they make him go to Bellator, it'd be a huge loss for him. I don't think he comes back because Bellator right now needs 170s. They have a good amount of 170s right now, and but they need more. Their 170 division is turning out to be their best division. Obviously with Robbie Lawler at the helm, and they got some super fights coming up as well. But I just was shocked that they would actually even think of that idea. Oh, and then we got in Bellator, so you got Gegard Musashi versus Rory McDonald. I think that's going to put asses in seats. That's actually at the end of the month, and I'm actually really excited for that card.
Can't wait.
Yeah, me too. And they got a good fight too. The legend fight, Quentin Jackson versus Vanderlei. I'll watch that. I'll watch that fucking all day. You know what I mean? I think it'll be like their 4th or 5th fight. But I'll watch that all day. And then Douglas Lima, he's obviously been one of their major stars throughout the years. Against Korshkov. I think they've already fought before once, and that was a total war. And that's actually a good card. Aaron Pico, that's one guy I feel so sorry for him. He got the Sherdog curse of being the prospect watch, and what happened? He comes out and gets worked. I think it was like 45 seconds in his first fight. I don't like the prospect watch. It's a total curse. I pray if you're a fighter, you don't get on the Sherdog Watch prospect spot. Pray that doesn't happen to you. But he's obviously rattled off 3 wins, all in impressive fashion. But still, he lost his first fight in 30 seconds. 24 seconds, he got choked out. That's hard to do. They're giving him a bit of a harder fight in Leandro Higo in his upcoming. He's obviously a future star, but you don't want to be on that prospect watch. He was on the elite prospect watch. That's how much they fucked him. But Gegard Mousasi's always been one of my favorites against Rory McDonald. Bellator's putting on another really good card.
It's like bopping fists with Bruce Buffer.
Yeah,
it's a curse.
Exactly. You don't want to touch him. I noticed that. I can't remember who he was announcing to on the card last night too, and he was going to, and it's almost like the camera panned away. He was right close to the guy, and he had his fist out, and he was gonna, and I the guy just kind of walked away a little because he was doing a side by side pace. I thought that was pretty funny.
It's like, pound it. No, I'm good.
No, I'm not gonna get cursed by you, Bruce. Shit. But yeah, Bellator's still getting it done. I love Bellator, especially as a number 2. You need a number 2 no matter how crazy or people want to call it or how bad they think it's going to be. I think you got to have that number 2 organization for some people to go. It keeps it fresh and it keeps them paid. You got one organization, no one's going to get paid because it's their way or the highway, really. And there's another fighter I was thinking of the other day. I don't know why her name popped in my head, but Juliana Pena. Whatever the hell happened to her? She was I think it's the Venezuelan Vixen is her nickname. I just thought, what a weird thing is, I think she was mad at pay or something like that. But she had, and I'm pretty sure she lost her last fight too. But what a weird, she goes from winning tough to obviously having that freak knee accident and never, and then she had right off a few wins, but I don't know what the hell happened to her. She has no upcoming fights. She's got a good record. She did lose her most recent fight. But still, what a weird thing. You just one day, especially in MMA, one day you're the best, and the next no one even knows you.
It says 2017 she announced a pregnancy.
Oh, okay, there you go. She's pregnant. Okay, that answers it all.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Little fighter.
Never mind then. On to the next. I was thinking too, it was one of our friends had brought up, obviously everyone's talking about the stupid Eminem MGK diss off and the battle with those guys. Who would exactly? It got me thinking of celebrity fights. You know what I mean? Who would put this person against this person? A celebrity could have a mixed martial arts or any kind of like a some kind of martial arts background, but fighter, celebrity versus celebrity, who wins? And I think obviously when it comes to, I don't even want to talk about Eminem versus MGK because they're both two scrawny white guys. I think you probably have to give the edge to Eminem because he's from Detroit, I guess. He got his ass kicked more. I just don't see MGK. Looks like I've seen him. Like, the only cool thing I will say about MGK is he goes on a lot of wrestling events.
Yes.
And so he loves WWE.
He's a big guy. He's 6'4", but he's skinny.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I don't know who you give the edge to. Could he maybe work it? But he looks. I don't know what his weight would even be. He looks super skinny. He is tall, so he's got to be at least 180. But he looks like a bone rack. You know what I mean? So I bet you they're probably almost the same weight. But who else? Who else do you think, for celebrities wise, should fight?
Joe Rogan,
yeah,
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to my mind too. You read my mind on that one, man. It's two dudes who are fighting. They have a little bit of beef actually too. I would love to see that one. Joe Rogan, I obviously have to give him the edge as the more well-rounded fighter with all the jiu-jitsu.
You'd have to pay those guys a lot of money.
A ton, exactly. I think Wesley Snipes would probably be more inclined to take the fight than Joe Rogan, because just because I think that I wonder, because Joe Rogan's not getting any younger, but how old could Wes? I think, they're probably pretty close in age.
Yeah, Joe's in his 50s.
Yeah, they got to be pretty darn close. Yeah, I guarantee they're both there. in their 50s here. But it just brings that's the one that comes to my mind too.
56 Wesley
Holy.
Snipes.
Oh, okay, Joe Rogan's 51.
So it's 51 versus 56.
Yeah, because they don't have his weight listed on on Wikipedia. But I think it obviously have to be an open weight bout. That was the biggest one that came to mind to me. Two dudes actually could put on a fight. You get all these lame YouTube people, or if you get like people from like the Housewives show or those dumbass reality shows. I want to see like actual celebrities. Even like Mario Lopez. You know what I mean? Give Mario Lopez versus Zach. You know what I mean? Zach versus Slater for all time. You know what I mean? The battle of Bel Air. You know what I mean? I would love to see that.
Speaking of YouTube fights, Logan Paul recently
Yep.
fought somebody in a boxing match.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, I heard about that one.
I have no idea. Everyone lost. I didn't see it, to be honest.
Exactly. I don't know. I feel sorry for anybody who did, because I guess they had actually fought before. When I was hearing a little bit of it before, they had apparently fought previously.
KSI.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I don't even know. I know that the only reason why I know the Logan Paul guy is because he had videotaped that dead guy in Japan, the guy who killed himself in the suicide forest. But that's the only reason why I even know about him is because of that. But I have no clue who the other guy is, and it's just it's really weird. I guess they had actually a decent fight their first round, but it's really weird they have so much beef that they actually fought
It
twice.
was a majority draw, so no one
Wow.
won. It's just like
Typical.
That's funny.
Typical. So typical for those guys. But yeah, I want to see actual celebrities fight. Like people who are Ryan Phillippe versus Freddie Prinze Jr. Battle of the 90s Heartthrob. Something like that, you know what I mean? Something stupid people can get behind, but it's two dudes who are actually going to go at it.
Kanye West versus Steve Harvey.
Huh. I'd have to definitely give the edge to Steve Harvey. Big dude, that mustache. I don't know. I think he actually did live on the streets for when he was earlier in his career, so I'd have to give the edge to Steve Harvey on that one. Good.
I don't know if they have beef, but that'd be good.
No, I don't think they have beef at all. I think they're probably actually buddies or something. Steve Harvey's gets along with everybody.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. I could still see him throwing down though. I could totally still see him throwing down.
I just want to see Kanye West fight anybody.
Fight and lose. And NFL season's here. I'm pretty excited about that. But Thursday night football, you got a problem. That was terrible. One of the sloppiest games I ever seen. I know it's the first game of the season, but geez Louise. The Eagles versus Falcons both did not want to win that game. It was, I honestly, I don't blame them halfly. I would blame the referees for that other half. Disgusting game. Refs I thought they had been over this already. I thought it was over with terrible reffing. I thought they brought in some new rules to help them out. No. Terrible officiating. Probably one of the worst officiating games I'd ever seen, especially for a Thursday night football. First game of the season. It just seems like they still are kind of confused. What is what? What's pass interference? What's a catch? We shouldn't be at this stage ever in the NFL when it comes to it. Simple things like what is a catch, we still do not know, and it's just stupid. But if we're gonna talk about NFL, you're gonna talk about Colin Kaepernick, obviously, and I gotta say, what is wrong with you, America? Give Colin Kaepernick, let the guy do what he wants, leave him alone, whatever. I understand the whole flag debate is huge. But to cut the goddamn Nike symbols off your socks and your shoes, and then post that because they signed Colin Kaepernick to do a few stupid slogans, you're gonna cut off the symbol? Throw it away then. Don't burn like the guy. Did you see the video of the guy burning himself with his Nike shoes on? Come on, America. What is up with that? Throw the shoes out. Don't you're gonna look at me moment. Oh, look at me. Look how much of a patriot I am. I'm cutting off a Nike swoosh on my socks. My socks will never fit on properly again, and I can't wash them again because the thread's gonna go all frayed. Jeez Louise.
Nike
Throw them
got
away.
their money already.
Tons. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
If
Exactly.
you're gonna do something to his shoes, donate them. People
Good
need
call.
shoes.
Good call, man. Donate them. Yeah. Donate those socks. Donate those shoes. Donate those. Donate everything. No, cut out the swoosh. That's a great point, Kelly. Donate that shit, please. I was just so I was when the guy was wearing the shoes, burned them while he was wearing them. That's when I really had. That's when I was quiet on the whole topic, but that's when that really got me going. What an idiot! He's just looking for attention, like every goddamn guy who wants his 5 seconds. That's not even. You know what I mean? Who wants to be the dude who burned himself and really hurt himself because of Nike shoes? Jeez Louise, it got me fired up because I had no clue why they were cutting the stuff out exactly. Like I said, throw it away. Like you said, donate it, please. But I just think it was a weird thing when it comes to WWE. I want to touch base a little bit on it. Always huge wrestling fan, but it was good Raw, good SmackDown. Excited for Hell in a Cell, and yeah, man, great touching base on the whole thing. Good first show, my man. I think we really did it. I'm excited for the future. UFC 228 was great. On to the next UFCs. UFC 229. You can always do different shows on that. I think it went well as a good post show, kind of a recap, and really looking forward to things to come. Well, that'll about wrap it up for us here, guys. Made it. Can't believe what time we at here. Almost an hour and 13 minutes. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And for my co-worker here, my producer extraordinaire, Mr. Kelly, my name is Steven, and we're signing off. Have a great day. That is the And New Podcast.